Sure. Judge Donald Mapp.
Here.
Judge Pro Tem Larry Williams. Pastor Eddie Williams Jr. Deputy Chief Tiffany Stewart. Andrea Smith. Janella Robinson. Norris Howard. Armand Harris. Chief Robert Dunlop. Sam Sharikian. Paul Bruno. Chief Judge Pro Tem David Braxton.
Here.
Chair Irma Clark Coleman.
Here.
You have a quorum present.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, next item.
Next item is item B, Chair's remarks.
I have none.
Next item, item C, approval of the minutes from July 26, 2023.
Okay, can I have someone approve? Properly moved in second that the minutes be approved. Are there questions on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Next item.
Item D, unfinished business. There is none listed. Moving to item E under new business. Number 1, review and approval of the fiscal year 2024 funding budget.
Okay,
Good afternoon, through the chair, Ebony McCann, Wayne County Health Human Veteran Services. First, like to thank you all for making yourselves available to come out today for this special meeting as we review and approve the funding for fiscal year 2024. I would also like to welcome Judge Donald Knapp to the board. Judge Knapp is the Chief Criminal Defense Judge at Third Circuit Court. My apologies, Criminal Division presiding. And so we are so excited to have you on board. He replaced Judge Prentice Edwards Jr., who previously served on the board. And so it is, I think for a few meetings, we have discussed having a representative from Third Circuit Court or Frank Murphy. And so we are extremely excited to have you on board, your knowledge, your insight as we move forward in planning for Wayne County offenders. I emailed electronically not only the funding or proposed funding proposal for fiscal year 2024, but I also sent over the proposal that the State Community Corrections Advisory Board distributed or created. And they included some great information. It shows that, again, for the 6th consecutive year, Wayne County's prison commitment rate is significantly lower than the state overall prison commitment rate. And so last year, when we submitted the application, we included some goals that we wanted to achieve. So for funding fiscal year 2022, we indicated that we wanted to reduce the overall prison commitment rate from 17.4% to 17%. And the actual overall prison commitment rate for fiscal year 2022 was 12.8%. So out of the 6,453 felony dispositions out of Wayne County, only 823 went to prison. So thank you all again for your diligence to, again, ensuring that we are providing programming that meets the needs of our offenders. You didn't receive it? My apologies. I sent it electronically.
okay, okay.
And so if you did not receive that document, if you'd like me to send it out again, I can. But it definitely just highlights the work that we are doing and our colleagues are doing. And so again, thank you all for your commitment. The funding for 2024. And this is the meat of the purpose of our meeting today, our discussion today. We requested $2,061,876 for fiscal year 2024, and we were awarded $1,987,876 and 10 cents. So we received $74,000 less than what we requested, which again is a little over 3%. So again, thank you and kudos to you all for your diligence and attention to the funding proposal that we submitted in the application. And so today we need to discuss the actual proposal that we're going to submit to MDOC. As in years past, MDOC has provided us with a blanket amount. So the overall amount of $1,987,000. We then decide or determine how those funds are allocated. And so that's the purpose of the meeting. And I got in trouble at our last meeting because the budget document that I submitted was relatively small. I ensured today that you have a 11 by 17 version of the document to avoid any discrepancies. So the first page, again, is just our funding proposal. It shares the proposal total as awarded by MDOC, as well as the cost descriptions total. So the contents of this document total, again, $1,987,876.10. And it then outlines the programs that we have allocated or that we have contracts with. So we can skip staffing. We'll come back to staffing, but if we go to the page, and it's maybe the 7th or so page. No, maybe page 10, where it lists contract number 1, you should have Lake Ridge Village as the first contract. I think it's the 10th page too. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. My apologies. It's page 12. So the 12th page. The next time I will number the pages. I was just so excited to see you all. So is everyone there? Okay. So Lake Ridge Village. Lake Ridge Village was a vendor that we brought on last fiscal year. I think that was their contract was implemented in November of last fiscal year, and it was only for $53,300. We projected that we would serve 60 participants, and this is a cognitive behavioral therapy program that is, it takes place inside of the jail. Individuals are sentenced to a 30-day jail term in the jail, followed by residential service and relapse prevention in the community. We affectionately refer to it as Jail Plus, but Lake Ridge Village is the vendor that provides the cognitive behavioral therapy component. Lake Ridge, their contract was approved for fiscal year 2023 for $53,300. Through August 30th, as you can see, they have exceeded the $53,300. Their expenditures to date are $74,305. And as a result of their increased utilization and there being an apparent need for cognitive behavioral therapy in the jail, my proposal is to increase, and this is in alignment with their contract, their allocation for fiscal year 2024 to $100,000. Does that mean that they will expend all $100,000? Maybe not, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. And make sure that adequate funding is available, as well as our efforts in our reach now with Third Circuit Court. It is my hope that through continued educational sessions and discussions with the bench that, again, our community, our criminal justice partners will become extremely comfortable and knowledgeable of the programming that we are providing, and they will then refer individuals to programs. So my request or my proposed allocation for Lake Ridge Village for 2024 is $100,000. And if you have any questions or discussions, I'd like to go through the entire document first. So make a pen if you have some suggestions or would like to see changes. As it pertains to contract number 2, trauma-informed care, Wayne County Healthy Communities, Black Family Development. The last time we met, this is a vendor. This is female trauma-informed care. We are still having issues with identifying potential participants, but there continues to be a great need. And so there is a disconnect between the actual referrals and how referrals are garnered. I'm sorry. Oh, yes. Yes, my apologies. So trauma-informed care is a curriculum for our female probationers that identifies, in addition to their cognitive behavioral therapy, that there are some other challenges as women that they may have experienced, whether past trauma, current relational trauma, trauma within their family, a relationship, trauma on the work. And so in addition to addressing cognitive behavioral therapy, the providers are addressing their past and or current trauma. They also offer childcare and some other services that I really think that if all of our community and criminal justice partners were aware of, we would see a significant increase in utilization. And so I will discuss our efforts and means in which we are going to increase outreach to get those numbers up. But that is what the trauma-informed care is. And so again, it's only for women and or men whom identify as women. And so we have to be culturally responsive and provide a space for individuals who may not have been born female, but they identify as female. And so we are offering services or providing services to them as well. And so to date, we have only had 8 new enrollments. The previous contract was for $150,000. But again, I think that with our efforts, we may be able to address or encounter additional individuals. And so I propose that we increase it by $50,000 for a total budget of $200,000 for fiscal year 2024. We are also exploring some other components of programming within that contract. And so again, I'll share those once we get through the actual budget component. ETRS, DVT, both jail and community-based domestic violence treatment programming. This is a vendor. This contract was newly implemented or newly executed, but this is a vendor that has provided domestic violence training or domestic violence treatment in both the jail and the community, and they've done so for over 15 years. And they are on target to meet their expenditures. We projected 30 new enrollments, and I actually need to update this number. As of earlier today, they actually have 24 jail-based participants who have been enrolled in the program and 56 community-based participants. And so ETRS DVT is on task to meet their and more than likely exceed their projected utilization for fiscal year 2024. And their contract for the year is for $140,000. Obviously, based on their utilization, we will have to submit a contract amendment to increase their rate. But for the purpose and sake of this discussion, the allocations are $100,000 for outpatient and $40,000 for jail. When the contract amendment is prepared and drafted, that document will be presented to you for your review as well. Wayne County Sheriff GPS Tether. We provide GPS Tether services for pretrial defendants, as well as those defendants that are sent or placed to a residential treatment facility under PRS funding. And so we projected 400 new enrollments for fiscal year 2023. To date, we have provided programming to 291 new enrollments and carry over 126 from fiscal year 2022. So we are on target and on task to exceed our utilization for Wayne County Sheriff's Office. The projection or the funding proposal allocation for the Wayne County Sheriff's Office is $241,586. And we may be able to borrow funding from Adult Fugitive Apprehension. So Adult Fugitive Apprehension is also a program that we offer through the Wayne County Sheriff's Office. Individuals who are sentenced to participate in the specialty courts, drug court, Veterans Treatment Court, Mental Health Court, and or sent to a PRS facility are eligible to be apprehended by the Wayne County Sheriff's Office in the event they abscond, in the event that they fail to comply with the terms and conditions of their probation, or they fail to comply with the rules of the facility. Our vendors, case managers at the Third Circuit Court can issue a bench warrant signed by a judge, and Wayne County Sheriff's Office will attempt to apprehend those offenders. And we pay for that cost. It's $542.85 per apprehension referral. So whether or not an offender is apprehended or not, we pay or reimburse the Wayne County Sheriff's Office $542.85. We've only expended to date $20,628. And I think that is attributed to a lot of the referrals for specialty courts are relatively low, and judges are not necessarily sending offenders to residential treatment facilities. I would like to keep at least $50,000 or $40,000 in that particular line item in the event that there is an uptick in enrollments in the specialty court programs. I do want to ensure that we have funding available to support them in the event that an offender absconds or fails to comply with the terms and conditions. Yes.
So they're not sending them to treatment from the bench, so to speak. Now that they are, because of the programs in the jail, or is it?
No. So as it pertains to adult fugitive apprehension, these are individuals who've been sentenced to participate in specialty court. So drug court, mental health court, veterans treatment court, and as a condition of their probation, they may have disclosed to their agent or the case manager that they don't have anywhere to stay. And so they may be sent to a residential treatment facility, or they are engaging in mental health treatment in the community as a condition of their mental health court. So they may have been sentenced to participate in therapy at Central Cities or through a vendor at Detroit Wayne Integrative Health Network. And so I'm not certain what the terms and conditions of their orders of probations are, but in the event that they fail to comply, a bench warrant can be issued, and then we can go ahead and attempt to apprehend them through our partnership with the Wayne County Sheriff's Office. But we can discuss, I guess, through such other matters, just what this looks like regarding referrals and how we can increase referrals with programming and vendors and things of that nature. 5-day housing is another component or another aspect in which the Wayne County Sheriff's Office assists us with. And this is solely just to allow our drunk driver jail reduction vendor the opportunity to assess an individual to determine whether or not he or she is eligible for community-based drunk driving jail reduction. And so they have up to 5 days to assess and determine eligibility, and they administer a biopsychosocial, a MAST, which is a MAST and a DAST, which is a mental health and a drug screening assessment tool, just to determine eligibility. And they also make sure that the COMPASS assessment, or they review the COMPASS assessment, which is an assessment tool that the Michigan Department of Corrections administers, but just to ensure that they are adhering to everything that was entailed in that actual report and ensure that their treatment plan matches or fits the individuals. So sometimes it takes up to 5 days for them to go through that process. And once an individual is then determined eligible to participate in drunk driver jail reduction, they are then referred to the vendor in the community. We are on target to meet our targeted expenditures for fiscal year 2023. We allocated $27,188. To date, they have utilized $17,487. And we still have expenditures for the month of September that need to be tabulated. And then finally, ETRS DDJR. We projected to enroll 75 new enrollments. We have provided services to 120 that carried over from fiscal year 2022. We have enrolled 120 new participants in our drunk driver jail reduction programming. So based on their previously approved budget of $30,000, they have exceeded that. Their to-date expenditures It's actually $50,000, so $49,775. We actually probably should look into increasing that. So potentially taking funding away from a different line item to meet the needs of E ETRS DDJR.
Okay, so this one here, they're at 50,000 already. The DDJR. Is that what you were
It's-
talking about? They
it's-
exceeded it?
It's 30, I believe.
Yes, 30 here,
Yeah, yes.
but you said that they were up to 50.
For fiscal year 2023. So right now, their expenditures or current utilization, they're at $50,000. And so we only allocated 30, or I proposed $30,000 for fiscal year 2024.
Okay,
So this body would need to discuss whether or not we need to add additional funding based on the document that I presented.
okay,
But that will require funding coming from a different line item. So we still have to fall within the $1,987,000. So yes, we'll have to discuss that during today's meeting or right now as I'm almost done. What I did not mention was the Gun Violence Prevention Intervention Program, which we did receive funding to continue planning and discussing the implementation of that program for fiscal year 2024. We were awarded $400,000 in fiscal, or allocated $400,000 in fiscal year 2023. The proposal is to potentially allocate $32,377, and that will include training and the actual programming that will hopefully be implemented by January of this year. I do have an update that I'd like to share. So that's where we stand with the community violence prevention curriculum. We do, yes. And I'm sorry, that concludes my report. Now, if there are any questions and discussion on the items.
I'm sorry, before we move forward, can you please press the button on your mic so that you can be recorded and we all can hear you?
Can you please explain? This was a reduction for the gun violence. Why in the world would they reduce that amount of money? Did they give you a rationale for that?
So the reduction, this document is my proposed.
Okay.
And so it was presented, I was attempting to just make sure I stayed within the $1,987.87 or 76 cents. And we are here today to discuss how we as a board feel about the allocations and what changes, if any, you propose. And that's what we will discuss today. And once we come to a conclusion today, that final document will be submitted to MDOC. And we would then, essentially, we're telling them how we are expending and what amount of funding we're expending in these particular line items.
This was done because they're reducing the money to be allocated. Is that correct?
Yes, we requested $2,061,000. It was reduced or less 3%, so $74,000 less than what we requested. And a lot of factors contribute to the reduction. I actually was expecting it to be a lot less, but expenditures in some of those line items. So we have a couple of line items where we have, funds that will go unused for fiscal year 2023. And unfortunately, the funds don't roll over. And so it is my hope that again, through outreach in our discussions and attempts to get our vendors in front of the bench, that come January or February, we can go back to the Office of Community Corrections and request additional funding. Additional funding is always available. We just need to exercise or present a need for additional funding.
What was their rationale for cutting the funding in the first place, though?
I just think that we have a couple of line items. We have that gun violence or the violence prevention program that we have not yet started or got the program up and running. We have the trauma-informed program where we've only had 8 enrollments since October 1. And so I think that, again, based on our low utilization in some of those areas, the reduction 3.3% was made. And again, it's our responsibility to kind of figure out how, based on what we did receive, how we can realign with where we, best feel that the funds will be needed.
So if there were only 8 enrollments, that ultimately goes, sorry to say, to the judges who aren't referring the people who need the program. Am I correct or incorrect?
Well, I think that as a whole body, there are, again, need for education amongst the probation, and we've had discussions with the probation. Community Corrections has presented our offerings to the bench, but we haven't had those discussions with the defense bar. Community Corrections has not had that discussion with the prosecutors. And so I think that education is necessary. We have a new bench, essentially. We have new staff in the prosecutor's office. MDLC has a significant amount of new staffing. And so I think that, again, this is now the opportunity for us to kind of collaborate and come together and increase our efforts to enhance enrollment and have these discussions. Prior to the pandemic, Community Corrections had staff that were stationed or situated in the AOI courtrooms. And unfortunately, we no longer have that capacity. Those staff, those positions have been eliminated. And so where we had a voice in the courtroom daily, that voice is no longer there. And so while we are attempting to deal with, the backlog of cases in Wayne County, that person is not there to provide a daily reminder. And so I think that just means that we're going to have to get creative, we meaning Community Corrections. If that means we need to have some type of literature or a placard that we order that is placed in the courtrooms as like a reference guide. We did do a PowerPoint, but again, something that is visible in their eyesight as they prepare to render sentences, or as the defense attorneys are advocating on behalf of their clients and may need to identify placing a placard on the tables in the courtrooms. We just have to get creative in how we are preparing or providing outreach, again, because we've seen a significant amount of turnover with the Great Resignation. And so in order to accommodate all the wonderful new faces and new partners we have here in Wayne County, I think we have to meet them halfway.
Let it be known that the prosecutor's office is very, very pleased with Ebony McCann. Given the fact that you have all these vacancies, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm being critical of Community Corrections, and I might get in trouble with my boss, but I am being critical of the state for them not giving us the funding that they gave us last year, particularly when we have, you can't watch the news without seeing something that fits into the programs that Community Corrections offers. So I'll shut up.
But if we are not using the funding, I think that's what they look at. If we're not using all of our fundings, then they're going to cut. That's just what the state does. So what we have to do, as Ebony said, we have to educate our judges that there are alternatives to sending them to jail, and that there are programs. And especially when you get a new group of judges in, that I think that's what's important. I frankly am surprised that they didn't cut it more.
Yes, so am I.
I really am. I'm surprised that they didn't cut it more. I was happy to see that they only cut that. It was only what, $70,000?
Yes.
Less than what they gave us last year. They've done worse.
But this is our opportunity to ignite that passion that we have and have these discussions and remove ourselves from Zoom and get in front of the bench, get in front of the defense bar, get in front of the prosecutors, have our vendors go forth and present and develop and cultivate those relationships. In years past, we had quarterly vendor meetings where the vendors that provided services to Wayne County, the probation department, representatives from the bench, the bar would come and sit at the table and discuss trends. So that's something that I am looking to implement as we kind of rebound from the impact of COVID and now adjust to our now new normal. But I do to your point, I have, well, again, I'll wait until we discuss the
Can I ask
funding.
another stupid question?
Nothing is stupid.
If we have extra money here, what would prevent us from using that money to fund or partially fund one of those open positions?
So we skipped pages 1 through 11, but there is funding for community corrections administrator. There is funding for a program manager and a administrative support person. So we are and I'll share an update as to where I have kind of elevated to, but bringing someone on board to fill that role as well as a program manager, one of the individuals that we lost during the pandemic, and an administrative assistant. So we do have funding for 2 potential people to come on board. And it is my hope that that program manager and or administrative assistant will kind of fill that void in the courtroom. That's the plan.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to add that I've been on a couple boards with the Department of Corrections as well. And I've definitely seen that when we can show utilization and need for services, the funding will come.
Yes.
And it has. But we have to be innovative and creative, outlining what the needs are, and then really being able to get that programming there. Ebony proposed that violence prevention programming, which is new for us, right, for Wayne County Community Corrections. So when we get to the point to be able to launch it, it should really make some huge, significant impacts on crime in our community specifically. And that will be a direct result of what this board has put in place as a new event initiative. So I'm looking forward to that, when we get the opportunity to move that direction. So I don't get too nervous about the funds myself, because I've seen the funds come, I've seen the funds go, but I've also seen them come back. When we're able to show this is what we need, this is why we need it, and then we utilize it. So everything you all are saying about really increasing the referrals and being creative, Ebony has come out virtually over this past year to get back in front of the probation staff and help them really understand what programs and services are available. So we're just going to continue doing that. And any, ideas and recommendations on how to enhance that even further, we want to do that. Definitely in support with the bench, making sure that the court is truly aware of what services are available, who's eligible for services, and a direct path without any gaps or any barriers to being able to access those services. So it's going to be good. I'm always looking forward to it.
So again, based on, I guess, the discussion, it appears that we may need to potentially reduce trauma-informed care by $50,000. I'm sorry, let's say $25,000. So instead of the proposed $200,000 trauma-informed care to 175, and attach those funds, that $25,000 to ETRS DDJR. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
How many members are you expecting to provide the service for the $200,000?
It is on that single sheet. We projected the single piece of paper. It outlines. Let's see, yours, Commissioner.
Thank you.
100. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
So we
One
project,
hundred
yes, sir.
and you only did 8. So realistically, do you think you can actually get 92 more members by the end of this year or more, or maybe more like 75?
So this is for fiscal year 2020. Yeah, yeah.
moving forward.
So I don't have an issue with reducing that 100 to 75 and making the projected enrollment for fiscal year 2024 75 and then reducing their funding. Do you have a proposed amount
And
then?
that way, you won't look so much like you failed again in the next year,
We failed.
because, you know, you did
Yeah.
reach your
We did not
goal.
reach our goal. Yeah,
your
yes,
goal.
yes.
Because maybe the bar was, the goal was too far.
Okay.
So
I agree.
if you look at a realistic goal, and then you can take the monies for the 75 that you think, and then whatever's left over from that, if you do the division, it would be around $50,000. And then that could be used to boost the other program that went over budget.
I did want to clarify, Madam Chair, if I could,
Mhm.
though, that the program year ends next year, September 30th. So I know it was mentioned to the end of this
Right.
year. So the 100 is to go through September 30th of 2024. The
Correct.
100
Correct.
participants.
Correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then I also saw in here that I see community violence prevention mentioned twice. And maybe I need clarification on that, because on the first one under contract 8, it says $100,000. Is that correct? And then under contract 9, it's for $322,000. Am I reading that?
No, you're reading it correct. Contract 9 is the actual staff person. And so a few years back, MDOC, OCC proposed that instead of making staff, additional staff under administrative, because our administrative costs can exceed 30%. So we would need to identify the staff persons that would be associated with those particular particular programs. So the $100,000 includes the staff fringe benefits and salary for the staff person that will be directly associated with serving as the program manager for that particular component. It's a SIMHI employee. So if you look at, it's actually contract number 8, Janella.
Mhm.
These are the duties and responsibilities of that individual, but this person was work solely on the development and implementation of this gun violence prevention program.
Okay, so contract 8 is actually the person, and in contract 9 are the actual services.
That is correct.
I would recommend that we detail the services.
Under contract 9?
Yeah, only
Yeah.
because it's not the same as when I take a look at like ETRS and it talks about these are the costs for intakes, assessments, and maybe because we're still planning and developing.
That is
it.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah. But that point is noted. So back to your point, Mr. Howard, for trauma-informed care, instead of $200,000, are you proposing that we reduce it to $150,000 and put the $50,000 to DDJR?
Yes. With the reduced expectation of providing
Of the-
service to 75 women.
Question for the chair. So if during the fiscal year, the number exceeds the 75 for the trauma-informed care and the community violence prevention program has not launched, which has $322,000, would that present any delays in being able to have the funds reallocated over to the trauma-informed care?
No, the grant allows us to submit a budget adjustment request directly to the Office of Community Corrections and provide them support and rationale as to why we are requesting funds to be moved. But yes, those funds can be moved with the permission of the Office of Community Corrections. And that move does not require commission approval because these are funds that have already been awarded and received.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or proposals regarding the actual budget and allocations or programming?
I have one additional question. Under the administration, it details cost for training. Is that, what type of training or specifically who is that targeting?
I'm so excited that you asked that question. Actually, it's not really enough for training, but I will go ahead and provide an update on Carry Guides training. So, well, fiscal year 2023, we have the opportunity to receive Carry Guides training, which is a cognitive behavioral therapy training that is highly used in Oakland County. Oakland County case managers and community corrections staff use this training. It provides individuals with the skill set to be able to review the COMPASS assessment and then make recommendations for treatment based on the COMPASS assessment. And so because we were underutilized this fiscal year, we were able to submit a request to the Office of Community Corrections for us to participate in that training. So that training is scheduled for September 25th. 26th of this year. But I anticipate, and I wanted to present to this body my desire to become HEAT certified as the county in fiscal year 2024. Pastor Williams is familiar with HEAT, but HEAT is a culturally responsive cognitive-based therapy curriculum. It was developed and created by Daryl Turpin out of Lexington, Kentucky. It has been reviewed and deemed appropriate and viable by SAMHSA. But this curriculum it targets individuals ages 18 to 29. Black and brown men and women. They also have a juvenile or youth component, but it speaks specifically to the issues or challenges they face day to day, whether they have barriers with the mother of their children, whether they encounter issues with their probation agents and being unable to respond to the agents, but it's culturally responsive to individuals that have been proven to have a higher propensity to be involved in a criminal justice system. It is a evidence-based model that allows, it's teacher-led, or peer-to-peer led, excuse me. So individuals who have had similar experience are providing or deemed as the trainers. It's a train-to-trainer model. And so I am excited. I did reach out to Mr. Turpin, excuse me, and I did request him to potentially come out and provide training for 25 Wayne County individuals. That includes community corrections staff. I will open the invitation to you all as well, in addition to our vendors, because I think that this is good information for us to have. And then ultimately, that curriculum will be used to kind of formulate the violence prevention RFP. I think that we did have a subgroup that kind of broke out, Mr. Bruno, last year, where we attempted to develop the RFP, at least the foundation for the RFP, and we found it to be difficult to start to develop a gun violence prevention intervention RFP from scratch. We were, while we identified programming that was comparable, it did not necessarily meet our needs. And so I would like for us to kind of look into HEAT, again, become certified, and that again will serve as the foundation for the violence prevention intervention program that I hope, based on us becoming certified, that we can issue the RFP late 2023, so November, December, with hopes of this programming up and running in January, February of 2024. that proposal, I did receive a proposal from Ms. Turpin for 25 individuals. The cost is $23,000. But again, as Ms. Robinson indicated, we received projected funding from the Office of Community Corrections. We can pay for this training through that budget. With hopes of, again, of us becoming certified and providing this curriculum that has not yet been heard of as it should be because of its effectiveness based on SAMHSA's report. So that's my goal as it pertains to training. So Mrs. Robinson, to your point, the training will be open to community corrections staff, our community corrections vendors and stakeholders, our community partners, anyone that would like to participate in the training. MDOC, OCC has allowed and has given us the opportunity to open that up and provide that option for our partners. So I don't need to, Octavia, then speak on numbers 3 or 4 on the agenda. Back to the budget, through the chair, we need to, if there are no other discussion, we need to review and approve the fiscal year 2024 budget with the amendments as noted. You have one more?
last question, yeah, because I saw Lakewood is listed as jail and community. Is that the phase 3 of?
So we've had discussions at length with Lake Ridge, who's at the table, Pastor Williams. We discussed the potential of modifying modifying their contract to include community-based programming, similar to the services that are being provided in the jail. I don't know if we are quite there yet with actually amending that contract, but we have had that discussion. And so that also attributes to the increase in funding for fiscal year 2024, in addition to their current utilization. But that contract has not been amended. So their current contract only provides provisions for jail-based. Lake Ridge does have the capacity through other avenues of funding to provide community-based programming, but it's not covered under this contract, and community corrections does not refer to that. That is something that Lake Ridge would have to discuss with the MDOC agent to determine whether or not the agent thinks that they would benefit from programming in the community.
Are there any other questions on the budget or concerns? Hearing none, can I get a motion to move? Can I get a motion for approval of the, yes, sir.
Second.
Who seconded? Norris. Okay, all right. It's been properly moved by Bruno's, and second by Mr. Morris. Norris. Hearing if there are no other questions on it, we'll take a vote. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Judge Matt,
Aye.
Deputy Stewart. Janella Robinson. Norris Howard.
Aye.
Paul Bruno. Chief Justice Braxton. Chair Clark Coleman.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're moving on to item 2, administrative changes.
So I think I alluded at our last meeting that I would have an update for you all that I could officially share. And so as of September 1st, I have been appointed to serve as the Transition Services Director for Wayne County. Transition Services is a newly formed division that will provide oversight of our jail health contract, adult community corrections, and adult probation. It was clearly made, a point clearly made by Commissioner Clark Coleman that I will continue to serve as the co-chair of the Community Corrections Advisory Board. And so I am not leaving, but there will be at some point someone coming on board to sit in on the meetings and maybe give you calls and things of that nature. But I did want to formally share that as we're moving forward. I've already talked about our desire and our goal to hire 2 additional individuals to come on board to assist the team. And then administratively, again, looking and identifying how we can be, again, reintegrated and embedded in the courtrooms, so that we can definitely ensure that we are getting the word out about our programming, reigniting or reestablishing those MDOC probation office tours that took place. And then presenting in front of the prosecutor, presenting in front of the defense bar, so that all of our justice involved partners are aware of what it is we specifically do, how you can refer individuals, what documents are needed, who to contact, because I think a lot of times individuals aren't necessarily referred to programming because there's so many challenges. Who do I call? Who's available? Who's going to respond to my call? And so for convenience sake, we refer to those individuals that we know are going to pick up the phone, that we know are going to be responsive. And so we just have to make sure that we, community corrections, we're making ourselves available. Our vendors are making themselves available. Judge Knapp, his court-assigned probation agent, I think I've received a call maybe once a week, at least twice a week. And whenever I see her number, I stop what I'm doing because I want to, again, reignite that community. I want her to feel comfortable in reaching out to me. And so I thank you for encouraging her to reach out, because I think that that's the only way we're going to get our referrals up is by making ourselves available. And so that is my goal, my task, to ensure that not only I'm available, my staff are available, and again, the vendors are making themselves available. And so in the event that I can't be contacted, you should be able to reach out to a vendor to say, hey, specifically, what are the eligibility requirements and who do I need to send this information to? And that really should be the end of the conversation. Everything else should be addressed by the vendor through their conversation with community correction. So I don't have anything further. I thank you all for allowing me to serve you and continuing to serve you. And I'm excited for what 2024 will reveal. I am super excited, as Mrs. Robinson, about this gun violence, because it really seems like it's getting ready to kick, to take off. And I am grateful to be a part of this board that is extremely passionate about what is occurring in our county and making viable changes to assist our returning citizens and our offenders to make sure that we are not only making it better for them, but making it better for us. Because I live in Wayne County, my children attend school in Wayne County. I need it to be as safe as possible. If not, I will be walking my child to the store every day or dropping and sitting off in front of the sports games because I'm scared for her to be there alone. And so I have a commitment to make sure that this goes well. And so I'm extremely excited and again, thankful to be working alongside of you.
Okay. So let me just say, first of all, I would like to congratulate Ebony on her elevation. I'm not surprised because she's very talented, and I knew that it would not be long before the others in her department recognize that all of those attributes. So, but I made it really clear to her that a position of this kind takes someone who has a passion, first of all, but also who has who've grown up in the organization, who understands all the nuances that's involved. I don't know that bringing in someone brand new to a position like this, where you don't have the background, I think it poses a problem. And so therefore, I kind of leaned on when she was hesitant to tell me that she had got this promotion, but she very quickly took the time. Well, yeah, she very quickly informed me that she would still be working, handling this. We've gone through a situation where we had someone else in here when Ebony was on a leave, and we ended up losing quite a bit of funding, a lot of funding. And this is nothing to do like on-the-job training. You got to know what you're doing. So I'm comfortable. I hope that, because you're saying that I need a clarification here. So at first you say that you would still be on the community corrections, you would still be running the program. So am I to understand now that they're going to bring a new director in to run the program? Make me understand what's happening here.
So, so through the chair, yes, we are seeking a candidate to serve as the administrator of community corrections, but I will continue. Even once that person is brought on board, I will continue to serve in this capacity. So I will continue to provide directive. I will provide and supervision over community corrections. So I will still be involved in the development of the application, ensuring that we are developing and cultivating relationships with our vendors, and definitely still being present and attending and being integral in these meetings and this partnership as well.
Okay, so your new position places you over
Correct.
community corrections.
Correct.
So you will still have oversight
Yes.
and you will still be doing.
And have the
Okay.
best interest of community corrections. Yes.
Just wanted to be very clear.
Yes.
You notice how she talked real fast?
She's running over there.
Yeah, she was trying to skim past it real quick. I'm going, if she thinks it, I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna revisit it. And I need a clearer understanding. Did you notice that? Yeah, she skimmed over it real quick. Okay, yes, Bruno.
I'd like to know whether Ebony would share the meeting.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I'm telling you, I've been here. We went there before and we lost a lot of money. We cannot afford to do that again.
I'll still be here in this role, in this capacity,
All
right next to you. I will.
But I do congratulate you. You deserve every elevation that you get,
Thank you.
as long as you continue to run these meetings.
Totally. Yes.
I mean, this is too important. A project. And I don't want to say project, but the whole community corrections is very important. We need to find ways to provide services other than jail, other than that. And so that's why it's important that we have someone in here who has the background, who has the knowledge, who has institutional knowledge about how this works. You can't just bring a brand new person in here and who has no background, who didn't come up in the ranks, and expect them to identify these programs and then explain them to the state, and then have it work. Am I right? Okay. Okay, so take that back to Warren Evans.
You take it.
No, I know, I'm sure. Dr. Syed walked in here.
Yes.
He's new and he's looking for some strong, capable
Yes.
people to work beside him. And he immediately discovered that Ebony was one of those people. But I'm glad that she made it very clear that she wanted to continue to work to assist us in this role that we have, because we truly depend on her. Now, does anyone else have anything to say?
Item 3, violence prevention update.
So I think we
Yes, okay.
discussed the violence prevention update. The plan is to, again, bring in Mr. Termpkin, the HEAT curriculum, and then develop based on that curriculum and the knowledge that we learned from that, a scope of work and issue an RFP. We may not need to issue an RFP because this is such a specialized training. It is my hope that we can issue a sole source contract for individuals that are credentialed to provide this programming. And so that's why I'm opening the training up to all of our vendors and community partners so that they can respond to the RFP. I'm sorry, so that they can submit a proposal of sole
Right.
source and that we don't have to go through the lengthy RFP process.
Right. Sounds good to me.
Item 4, Carrie Guy's training was also discussed. We're moving on to item F, such other matters as be properly submitted before the committee.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Item 4, we
Oh,
discussed
okay.
as well. We're moving to item F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
I have not been informed of any other matter.
Item G, public comments. We have no emails and
Are the lines open?
yes, and no hands on
Okay.
Zoom.
All right, it is now time for public comment. If you are on Zoom or if you're on the telephone and you have a comment for us at this time, please unmute yourself and go ahead and make that comment.
Chair, there are no hands on Zoom.
If I may, Pastor Williams, I think you wanted to speak or you had something to say earlier. If you'd like, I think this would be a great time for you to go ahead and
Well, I think,
it was addressed.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Okay. All right, so it is still time for public comment. Anyone would like to speak at this time, please do. It's your second call. Last call for public comment. I'd like to invite you to make those comments at this time if you are if you have anything to say. Hearing none, public comment is ended.
Next item, item H, adjournment.
Okay. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
so move.
All right, support?